All right, thank you everyone for joining us today. This is our first webinar of spring 2021, and we are excited to have Maritez Apigo here talking about student-to-student interaction online in asynchronous courses. If you were around last semester, we have had Maritez write a couple of blogs for us focused on how to humanize online courses. And so this is continuing on in that series. If you have not read the blog yet, let me drop that link in the chat for you. If you haven't done the reading, just kidding. So there's a blog if you'd like to check it out. And we will be recording this and it will be up on the blog website as well if you'd like to share it with your colleagues and go back to it. So thank you so much for being here, and I'm going to hand it over to Maritez.
Thank you so much, Summer, and to Cap for having me. Such an honor and privilege to be here with you all. Welcome, everyone, and I'm so excited you all could join me this afternoon. My name is Maritez Apigo, and I'll be sharing with you some of my concrete ideas for asynchronous student-to-student interaction, and a little bit later give you all an opportunity to share your ideas as well. My Twitter handle is here at the bottom. I would love to know who is here today. So if we can all enter into a single chat entry, your name, your college, and your department. Wonderful. Well, welcome everyone. I see so much representation from colleges all across the state. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I have 2 decades of teaching experience in English and ESL. I started my teaching journey in middle schools and high schools, and then I switched over to the California Community College system. And I have 8 years of online teaching experience. I'm training faculty to teach online at the college, district, and state levels. I'm an @1 online course facilitator and course reviewer. And currently I'm at Contra Costa College as the distance education coordinator, open educational resources coordinator, and English professor. Can I get a 0, 1, 2, or 3 in the chat to indicate how many of my CAP blogs you've read? And I'll ask my co-pilot Summer here to please share the links to them in the chat. I think, Summer, I think they're going into the waiting room. The links.
Oops, you're right.
It's okay. And I see, you know, some people haven't read any of the blogs yet, and some people have. It's okay. It was not a prerequisite to coming today. My last one really focused on conveying a caring instructor presence. And now the focus of this one is on student-to-student contact and interaction. And look out for the next one, the 4th one coming next month, which is going to focus on synchronous student-to-student interaction on Zoom. I'd like to anchor this conversation with a student voice. I give my students anonymous surveys throughout the course to get their feedback. And these were 2 students. These were from 2 students. One said, I loved being able to still have interaction with my classmates. I didn't think I would really get that interaction in an online class, so that was definitely a bonus for me. I liked how the professor was able to keep us all connected with each other and made it feel as if we were in an actual classroom, even though we were in the comfort of our home. Michelle Pacansky-Brock is notable for her work on humanizing online teaching, emphasizing the non-cognitive aspects of learning to foster trust, to form connections, and develop relationships. Humanizing online teaching is an equity-minded practice. I stand on the shoulders of these equity experts, Geneva Gay, Bell Hooks, and many other educators who emphasize the importance of community and connectedness. Humanized, equity-minded, and culturally responsive pedagogy are even more impactful practices for minoritized BIPOC students, Black, Indigenous students of color, because they're not learning in isolation, but instead they're learning in close collaboration with their peers. So what's the big deal with student-to-student interaction? Well, aside from the regulations that require us to comply, the research has also proven how vital it is to student learning, retention, and success. They persist at higher rates and they perform better. Give me a thumbs up in your reactions if you assign whole class discussions in your online courses. Okay, so I saw some thumbs go up there. Students on a panel of the 2019 online teaching conference told us that they do not like whole class discussions. One student disclosed in her words, she said, personally, I hate discussions, hate them. And these are the reasons why. Students having a natural conversation with a classmate is not going to appear in the form of a weekly initial post and 2 replies that meet a minimum word count. It's unnatural, and it's not how real connections are formed. I encourage you to consider how else you might structure your interactions. Whole class discussions alone are not enough to cultivate a sense of community. I've broken up into 3 categories. So the first being low stakes collaborative practice. And here you can think about breaking your class up into groups to discuss in small groups rather than with the whole class together. Thinking about peer review and how you might have students give and receive feedback on their work. Hypothesis, if you assign readings in your courses, allow for students to have a conversation in the margins of the text. And also students creating videos. Canvas and Canvas Studio and Flipgrid are 2 tools you can use for that. When you want to use a group, either discussion or assignment in Canvas, the first thing you'll want to do is set up your groups. And this happens in the people section of Canvas. You have the ability to allow students to self-sign up, or you can assign the groups. You can assign them randomly, or you can do it manually as well. This is what the peer review tool looks like inside of Canvas. And here, again, it allows you to either assign reviews automatically, or you can go in by the student's name and assign them manually. You can select one or multiple. For hypothesis, the reading would appear over here on the left, and you can use this with either PDFs or websites. And on the right side is where all of the conversation happens. So students would first highlight some text, and then they would select annotate. They would select annotate, type in a comment. They can also add links, video, like a YouTube video link, and then there's the ability for students to reply to one another here as well. So it's a nice alternative to the whole class discussion if you want the conversation to be about a reading. For videos, if you want to have your conversation come to life through audio and video, then you can have your students participate either in Flipgrid, or you can use Canvas Studio, and you can either set that up as a discussion assignment or a small group discussion assignment. And instead of entering text to participate, they can record videos of themselves. My first blog is the one that focused on Flipgrid. So if you want more information about that one, make sure you check out that blog, because I have a video in there on how to set it up in Canvas and all of that. A second category are higher stakes summative assessments. So these types of assessments can be designed to facilitate group work and collaboration through group projects. So for instance, students in my English course, which has an ESL focus, they first would read and annotate 6 articles representing multiple perspectives on hypothesis. And this happens over several weeks. After they've read them all, then while they're doing that, they're also in groups, and each group or each team becomes an expert in one of the articles, and they collaborate on creating an Adobe Spark video to present to the class. That video gets shared on a Canvas discussion, and then students are able to then give one another feedback on their videos. And I'd like to share with you just a quick snippet of one of the group's videos that they created in Adobe Spark.
In lawmakers, including Ocasio-Cortez, lash out over conditions following border facility tours. An article on website CNN.com. Priscilla Alvarez discusses the outrage of Democratic members of Congress over the growing humanitarian crisis on the southern border after their tours to 2 Texas border facilities. Alvarez mentions that a report by the
Martez, you're on mute.
I paused it right there because I wanted to show you a different clip, which is where they're teaching the class new vocabulary.
Poverty or neglect. It also is a metaphor, which implies despicable lack of moral standards.
Our second article is Ice Rain in Mississippi deals another traumatizing blow to children.
Okay, so I wanted to just give you a sampling there of what Adobe Spark video looks like, and you can hear the different students' voices as they're chiming in for their part. In Adobe Spark video, you can add these images, text, music, and then the students can also record their voices. The last category is the student-initiated contact with other students. And on campus, this happens organically before the teacher begins class, or during a break, or among students who hang around after the class ends. These conversations or even small talk may or may not be about your course content, but nevertheless, connections and relationships form out of them. So how can we provide a space for that online? I've experimented with an open student Canvas discussion and a Flipgrid student lounge type of environment, but I've really had the most success with Pronto. And Pronto uses communication modalities that students are already familiar with: text chats, emojis, GIFs, and live video. You can have a whole class thread, or you can have small group threads, and you can also do private or direct messaging. Now it is going to be your turn to share your ideas for asynchronous student-to-student interaction. We will be using Padlet this time to capture all of your wonderful ideas. And Padlet allows you to leave comments, questions, or feedback as well. So the Padlet is going to look like this, and I'll ask Summer. Oh, she already put it in the chat. Thank you, Summer. Padlet is very easy to add content to. You want to click this plus button in the bottom right-hand corner, and then you can just start typing in the box what your idea is. And then you'll notice that down here at the bottom of it, you're able to add comments below. So if you see something there that you'd like to comment on, you're welcome to do so as well. So to encourage faculty to faculty interaction, we're going to move you into breakout rooms. And then when you get there, feel free to unmute your mic. We invite you to turn your camera on if you can. And we also have allowed the ability to screen share if you want to all look at the Padlet together. And we will do this over the next 15 minutes. Summer, are we ready to move into breakout rooms?
Yep, I will send that right now.
Great. So I'll see you all in 15 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. All right. Do we have everyone back now, Summer?
Yes, all the rooms are closed.
Wonderful. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I'm looking at our Padlet, and I'm seeing some good ideas on here. I'm not sure if everyone had a chance to capture what you guys talked about in your breakout room. If not, you can go ahead and still add them. I think it would be helpful for all of us to see what you guys talked about on here. But I'm just going to go look around and see what was captured. And I'm seeing here that there's a math group one. So for creating math groups, that someone is assigning the groups by major, by the student's major or the student's interest, so that they can connect more. So do you want to talk a little bit about that? I think that was Lisa, right?
Lisa. My class used to be a large cap. That means 75 students in one class. So I prefer to divide them into the groups. So it's 75. I could divide into like 5 group or 6 group. But usually I will do my own survey first on the discussion board and put each majors what's their majors or what's their career goal. So they will join each one. Nursing, engineering, computer science, entertainment, of sociology. So students will jump in there and to post their own, what's their major and what they are working on related career. So students get together by groups. Then when I use that list to break them up into the subgroup. So that's a small group that they feel connected together because they can talk about this common interest. Especially my nursing students, they're so happy to learn from the other, one from the other, what hospital they are working and what they are doing, and from the RN and from the assistant the nurse that moved to the with the bachelor degree with the RN or with the MSN. Some students are working for their master degree, so they kind of passing the information each other and get well connected. So
That's wonderful.
I could retain them to the end of the class.
Yeah, I love that idea. And I'm wondering if in their small groups, they even are able to apply the math to their major, since they're surrounded by those who have a common major. So that's a wonderful idea. I'm also looking at the Padlet for, someone wrote here, Discord. My English 1A students created a student-only Discord chat. They share inspirational quotes, resources, and advice. I also created a student-only Zoom that they can use. Link is on our Canvas homepage, so they can jump on together at any time. I love that, those two ideas. Who wrote that? Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, hi, Isabel Anderson, Solano College. This was something that a very ambitious student in my class who wants to go into teaching himself had said that he was eager to create more opportunities. Really at the beginning of the semester, he said he wanted to create more opportunities for students to create community. And so I suggested to him, opening this Discord. He created the Discord thread, sent me the link, and so on our homepage, I have the link for the Discord so students can click on it from there. He didn't have to reach out and try to get everybody's email and individually email or anything like that. It's right there, a link that takes them to it so they can sign up. And then also I have there a student-only discussion room. And then I have that student-only Zoom. And I just always promise that don't worry, I'm not going to go in there. You guys can use it anytime. And once in a while, I get that notification, students have entered your Zoom room, and I think, am I supposed to be on Zoom right now? And I have to look at and remember that link is their room to use. So I don't go in there, but they do make use of it. It's really great. It's been good. I have them in small groups throughout the semester anyway, so they're kind of used to, they've gotten used to really quickly to being in those smaller communities and having that contact. And they quickly have, exchanged emails and cell numbers with students who they feel like they're making a connection with, they'll private message and do that. So I've just made much more of an effort around this whole thing this semester, which is also why I was eager to come and hear more ideas from you. I appreciate this webinar. Thank you. And I'm right down the road from you because I live in Richmond.
Oh, okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, Muddy Soul, she's from Richmond too. Yeah, so Discord is a kind of an alternative to what Pronto, and I was sharing about that a little earlier, but Discord is free. And, I'm not surprised to hear that it is driven, and it came from the students who are like, we need to connect with each other through text. That's our mode of communication. I know some colleges that are using, other colleges using Discord. One of the concerns that did come up was about privacy. And I don't know if you guys are having this discussion on your campus, but is it really closed off to just your class, or can other people on Discord and view or enter into those conversations? So, just kind of thinking about FERPA compliance as well when we're using tools. Pronto is completely secure because it's only closed off to just the students enrolled in your Canvas shell. So, but it is a paid product. So I could see why people are trying to seek out free tools and options to make that happen.
And can students I wasn't sure if in Pronto, so we do communicate as a class in Pronto, but I wasn't sure if they could leave me out of the conversation.
Yes, they can create their own groups.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you have your whole class thread.
Good.
Yeah, you have your whole class thread, and then they, if you have any groups that you've made in Canvas, those automatically become Pronto groups. So they have those.
Well, that's perfect because they're
made. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they can also make their own groups. They can create their own groups. So if they want to form a study group or anything like that, that's possible as well. Awesome. So I saw that someone had their hand up. Daniel, did you want to ask or share something?
Well, I think part of it was answered, like what Discord is or what Pronto is. So it's kind of always hard to get one's mind around those things until you just go on and figure it out. And then my other question was, how do you create a Zoom, that they can just go turn on anytime? I'm a little confused about the technical side of that.
Yeah, I can answer the first question and then I'll let Isabel answer the second one. So are you familiar with Facebook Messenger? Do you use that?
No, I don't even use Facebook.
Okay, so it's an app where you can message people through text messaging, and you can share emojis, you can do GIFs if you want, you can have small group conversations going on, like you can have a whole class conversation going on, you can have one-on-one private or direct messaging, which I often do with my students, is the private direct messaging. And I found that my Q&A discussion that I've set up gets no activity at all. Everyone contacts me through Pronto because it's through text, right? So my Q&A is useless now that we have Pronto.
So it's just much more user-friendly than, like, let's say the Canvas messaging system, which is very unwieldy, basically.
Yes, yeah. And another thing to note is that with Pronto, you can add a free app to your phone. So you get notified on your phone when there's messages there, and you can also just interact directly from your phone through the Pronto app. You don't have to go into Canvas to do that. So Isabel, did you want to talk about how you set up your student Zoom room?
Yeah, I just created an extra Zoom meeting. So it's under my account basically. And I just have it as like a recurring meeting with no set time, I don't know. I just went in and fiddled with all of my Zooms are like that anyway. Like even like department meeting Zoom is just like an open thing. So if anybody in the English department is like, hey, let's talk about that real quick, we just get onto that Zoom.
Well, you mean,
because the recurring thing is too confusing for me otherwise, like a closed room.
So you go on to the Confer Zoom, and then from there you set up a meeting, but the meeting isn't on all the time, is it? Wouldn't that be just using way too much Zoom power or whatever for have a meeting that's on all the time?
I mean, those are only on if somebody's in it.
Yeah, you set it up as something that's recurring but not scheduled. So anytime you want to, you just use the same password and the same meeting code and the same password.
Oh, wow.
I did one for educators, and I did happy because it makes me happy when I get together with educators. So it's real easy to remember, and I can just open a meeting anytime I want to work with a group of people.
Okay, that's interesting. To me, it just felt like, oh no, it's 24/7 and there's a meeting going on and Zoom's going to be mad at me or something. Okay.
No, and it's true. Like I get a note, like I said, I get a notification that like somebody's in your Zoom room because it is onto my account. But I know which ones to ignore, which ones not.
Yes, and it looks like Catherine also uses that for her office hours as well. Amber,
Oh, I was just going to comment that I was doing the Zoom study room thing for a while, and just recently, I don't know if it's the way I set something up, but basically if I'm hosting a class session and then students hop onto my Zoom room at the same time, then it does cause a little bit of a conflict because I'm the host to both of those meetings. If you have your Zoom room open and your students are hopping on when you're hosting a different meeting, things like beginning meetings and ending meetings really affect everything. Like it'll say things like end all meetings or end this meeting before you start another meeting, Amber. So with start times and end times, it's been a little bit confusing. But what I noted today, like it just happened today, I teach for, from like 10:30 to 2:40 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but students wanted to do a Zoom study room right after my first class. So they did, but then it's like I have 3 open meetings because they're all doing study sessions while I'm teaching. So anyways, the students quickly know, like if it boots them off, just join back and it kind of works because you can have more than one meeting open at once. It just gets touchy. I'll warn that it gets touchy, and I put in the chat box. I think it's probably frowned upon in Zoom land because they do have a pay for service called Zoom Rooms, and it's a pay for place to set a room and people drop into it, and some colleges pay for that service to open for math lab, for instance, or whatever. So anyways, just know that I don't think it's something that the Zoom people are happy with probably, and I don't know if they're going to change things. I don't know if anybody has any insight that I don't have, but I see some things happening where I've been using them since fall and now some weird stuff's going down.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And the Zoom rooms is definitely synchronous interaction. Even though we are focusing more on asynchronous, but that is another form of student to student interaction. So I'd like to go ahead and open it up to any questions that you may have. And of course, you still have the link to the Padlet, and there were some other good ideas on there as I saw as well.
The Padlet, this is my first time experiencing one, and it's extra fabulous, but it's pay for also, or does your institution pay for it, or like individual faculty members pay for it?
Padlet is free for the first 3 that you make, and then after that, they want to charge you for it. It's pretty inexpensive. I think our institution paid $100 or $99 for a year of unlimited Padlets. So we all just kind of share the same login and go crazy with our Padlets. But if you want to keep it free, one thing that I used to do for a long time is, you can delete an old one and then just create a new one and just always keep it at 3.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the tips. And maybe we could ask our institution or the department even to foot out $100 for it, because it seems really cool.
Yeah. Any other questions right now?
Martez, I think there's a few in the chat if you are looking at that. Do you want me to read them to you, or?
I could see them. So Catherine, how have people encouraged students to set up study groups? A number of my co-rec students just don't turn in homework, and I'm trying to encourage them to connect outside of class to do homework. So I'm going to actually open this up to everyone. Do you have a way to encourage students to set up your study groups? Summer.
So I am not doing this, but my colleague is doing this semester, and she's making one day of her office hours. She's calling them study hours, and she's opening up a Zoom room for students to come in and do homework together. And she's there, but I think she kind of goes on mute and doesn't get too involved, but she's there if they have questions. And she said it's going really well. She's had, several students coming in each week, and they're interacting with each other. And then she's there to provide support. So that's one idea that seems to be working well.
That's great. Yeah, I find that because my students already have groups, that becomes their little network. That becomes their study buddies. That becomes their go-to people for any kind of questions that they have about the class. So I think it just kind of happens when you automatically start breaking your class up into groups. Amber and then Marisol.
So what I do is we have optional synchronous meetings, and during those meetings, I kind of just like, you can tell that people have more questions and we have to hop off. And so I say, if anyone's willing, to hop on a Zoom room, I'll send it out to the class. And then I kind of encourage it while we're face to face. Sometimes I'll look at the homeworks and I'll be like, ooh, like not even half the class has done it yet, and it's due at midnight. So I'll go and I'll message them and I'll say, hey, it looks like, folks might need help with the homework. I encourage you guys to hop on the Zoom study room. And then I'll usually have a few ambitious students that I target, quote unquote target. And I say, hey, are you willing to host this? And what times are you free? And really someone steps up often, because they know it helps them. Even if they are a stronger student and more confident in hosting Zooms, they'll be willing. And then I say, all right, Bob is hosting a study session, everyone hop on. And that email, not an announcement, an email that goes to their inbox, or a Pronto with a funny GIF or something very inviting. And then they just click a link. It's all about convenience and remembering, right? Like, oh yeah, I have homework at midnight, I want to hop on this Zoom room real fast. So trying to just plug them.
Yes, yes. And in Pronto, you can also go live, kind of similar to a Zoom meeting. You can go into live video in Pronto.
I just saw that. I didn't know that. So
yeah.
I'm
it doesn't
kind of
affect
curious.
your Zoom issue that you were describing earlier, where
like
if you
that.
happen to be in another room.
We just got Pronto like 3 weeks ago or something. So I'm still getting my feet wet in there and trying to figure it out.
Yeah, experiment. It's really fun. Go ahead, Marisol.
Yeah, it was the same, essentially using Pronto video chats instead of the Zoom. That's how I encourage student-to-student interaction, because they can video chat directly with each other. And it's literally the video icon. That's all they have to press. And so I use that. I also, because I didn't realize to set up these like reoccurring meetings like other people, I set my classroom up 30 minutes prior and encourage students to review their homework together prior to me jumping onto their Zoom. And I also set it up for 30 minutes after, so I can leave, and then I just allow a student to be the host, and then they can stay on and start doing the homework together. And then, the Pronto is just an incredible way to just write them really, really quickly. I use GIFs a lot as well, to like say welcome or, study room, etc. And so I've had students jump on with each other. I've had them, need me really quickly. And so I go ahead and jump on in a video chat really quick without having to deal with Zoom.
Great, thank you. And for those interested in Pronto, talk to your DE coordinator about getting it at your college if you don't have it yet. Pronto is part of the STAC, the System-Wide Technology Access Collaborative. So the state negotiates really low prices for us. I think it's 90 cents or $1 per FTES, which is pretty low for the different technologies we have. I see Elizabeth has her hand up, but we can stay on maybe a little bit after, but I do want to go ahead and close it out and invite everyone to keep thinking about how you will design both your formal and your informal opportunities for your students to interact in your online courses and continue to foster that strong sense of belonging and connection and community. So thanks everyone for coming. And I know Summer has a couple of announcements.
Thank you all so much. And thank you especially to Maritez for sharing your expertise and all of these wonderful tips. So I will be sending you all a follow-up survey. So just be on the lookout for that in your email so we can get your feedback. As I mentioned before, we will post the recording within the blog. So if you just go to the blog, right now there's a registration link, and once we have the recording, we'll switch it over to the recording link. So you will have access to that. As Maritez mentioned, we are having another blog at the end of March that will be focused on student-to-student interaction and synchronous courses. So using Zoom and ideas to connect our students when we're teaching in real time. And I did also want to mention, I'm going to put the link in the chat. Tomorrow, our Spring 2021 webinar series addressing inequity in our classrooms starts. Our first webinar is tomorrow from 2 to 3:30. And if you click that link, you'll find a description of all 3 of those webinars, as well as a registration link. The webinar tomorrow is led by 3 faculty members from Sacramento City College, who will be talking about looking at your own equity data and how that's impacted their teaching. And they've been doing that for several years. So they've kind of, worked with it and made modifications, and they're all great. So I highly recommend that you attend tomorrow if you are able. And I think that's it. Thank you all so much for being here. And I think Maritez said if you had any more questions, she can stick around a moment.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all so much. I appreciate it.
Hi, Elizabeth. Did you want to go ahead and unmute yourself?
Oh, sure. Thank you so much for the webinar today. It was really helpful. I just wanted to share that I've created a single Zoom meeting in the past and not a recurring meeting. And I've been able to use that meeting ID for multiple meetings at basically any time. Myself or anyone else can sign on. So just putting that out there.
Another possibility. Yes. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. Did anyone else here have a comment or question you wanted to unmute?
I wanted to share just the concern side, just from all the years of being club advisor, where we had to be always with students and always make sure that there's safety, with student to student interactions. And so it's interesting to me. It's something that I found more uncomfortable than people 10 years younger than me probably do, because it violates everything that we had to do prior to this current status. We weren't trying to get students to be in rooms together. We weren't trying to get them to hook up on internet, because you don't know your students well enough yet. And there are some students who might get sucked into relationships or someone might. I've got one colleague who has a student who was stalked by a fellow classmate as part of the just becoming infatuated with that person in a Zoom classroom. And so that's just the side. I didn't want to do it in the big group, but that's the side that for those of us that are in the 60 plus club, we've got histories. I can remember being in an office having a student come in person and just seeing my student assistant and going on and on about dreams he was having about her, because they shared a Spanish class together. And I stood up and walked him to the door and walked him out the door and walked him out of the building. And then I came back and said, "What was that about?" She said, "My Spanish teacher never does anything. Thank you for protecting me." And so I won't be one that, at least not for this next few weeks, am I going to try the getting people together in rooms by themselves. And so I want help, and I'll keep reading and studying and listening and learning, but I want help to get past what we did to protect students from the unknown, because I understand the need for community. And so thank you for your time. I love the enthusiasm and the positivity of it. And I know it'll be a change of expectation and a change of responsibility. And that's part of the digital awareness that students are being taught, and part of the digital responsibility that they need to be cautious. So it's an interesting balance of all of that. So I just want to say thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
not objecting to it. I think it's marvelous.
Yeah.
But I have all these experiences from decades of in-person or unknown contact outside of class that causes the student problems until they're finally so upset that they come to talk about it. And I don't even know that it's happening from a classroom experience. So
Yeah, well, one of the beauties of asynchronous is that everything's documented and time-stamped, and it has a student's name on it.
Well, that's a very good point.
So, when you leave them off into their Zoom room, I don't know what's going on in there, but when you do look at like the Pronto chat, everything's documented, who's saying what. And so you can monitor, if anyone's getting bullied, or if anyone's, if there's some inappropriate material in there, you can always jump in, and you can always, if they delete it, you can still get a transcript of it if you want to report anything.
So Discord is that way also, I think, because we have.
I don't use Discord just because I'm worried about the FERPA violations.
Okay, so that's the same thing.
But with Pronto you can get any transcript, even of stuff that was deleted.
Thank you so much.
We did have one issue with that we had to go back and get the transcript and report it to the deans for some inappropriate comment.
But you could get the transcript for it. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
That is
Thank you so
awesome.
much. Yeah, and we had a Zoom bomber too at our school. We had a big webinar and there was a Zoom bomber, hundreds of people in attendance. And it was something where they had to call in the police and it was awful. I luckily had some other thing and was 20 minutes late and they had closed down the Zoom room. And it was just a terrible, terrible event. And so the school's done a whole bunch of things to protect and make sure that like only people who register come to meetings and things like that. So
That's
thank
good.
you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. For all
You're
of you.
welcome.
I
Okay.
was going to add one
Wonderful.
thing I do too is I do check-in surveys with my students like every few weeks that they individually complete. And because I have them working in familias, so they're, again, you can't be in all the Zoom rooms all the time. So I always ask, you know, is everything okay in your familia? Is that, you know, is there
What a
anything you
fun,
want to
yeah.
share? Just to put it out there to ask them. So if they haven't felt comfortable coming to me saying it, I'm putting the invitation out there.
Wonderful.
Is everything going okay?
Yeah, they
Right,
have
yeah.
an opportunity.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I like the family idea. That's wonderful too. I mean, thank you. And I'll watch you said you'd give me a link so I could watch the first 20 minutes. So I'll get out of your way so you guys could wrap. Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciated everything about it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay.
Bye.